Oh, right. Yeah, these are requests from Maria. Well, it was a PayPal appreciation, but then she sent these, which like this kind of stuff is, yeah. I want to do more stuff like this on the channel because I'm also going to do the Eric Weinstein podcast about the construction, Jeremy Epstein construction, the construction of Jeremy Epstein. Yeah, but yeah, this is Ali Carter describes what auctions are like, which I'm guessing is human trafficking. And you want to know a crazy thing about the UK? I see a boy who got done for human trafficking. He's like, when I was stood he's a drug dealer, and when he stood in the dock, he's like, they read out my thing and was like, oh yeah, drug dealing and human trafficking. He's like, and I honestly thought they reading out the wrong thing. Like, I was thinking, I'm not a human trafficker. I've never done that. But the UK police have tweaked the human trafficking laws to basically go after drug dealers, not human traffickers. It's to get drug dealers more time. Because basically, the boy got done for human trafficking because he someone rings him for something and they want something in Manchester. He rings someone else. They take a bag to Manchester. That's human trafficking. He just human trafficked that person. So they've tweaked human trafficking laws to go after drug dealers again. It's like go up. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, um, yeah, this is going to infuriate me, I think. But yeah, let's go.
You don't understand what people do. Have you seen that picture of there's like a little baby on the floor? I'll post it. I'll post it. I will probably get blocked on here again if I put it on my story. But I know you guys have seen this picture. There's a picture of a baby.
Can I just say this again? What is it with everyone not wanting to talk about it either? All of a sudden, Muslim grooming gangs, but I don't call them Muslim grooming gangs, they call them grooming gangs. But all of a sudden, that's hot topic. Tommy Robinson's been talking about that for years, and he's been put in prison, called a Nazi, a fascist. Now you watch kids shows, and they're like, "Hey kids, be careful of grooming gangs." It's like, why all of a sudden you want to keep talking about grooming gangs? And the reason is because everyone's starting to look at the elite. But what is it with all these media platforms that are definitely, like she said, getting banned? You're getting banned for what? It's telling the truth. Why are you? Let's go.
I got a picture of a bunch of kids tied to a wall that's actually an auction. They're tied to a wall and they're hanging on the wall. That's another form of an auction. Some auctions are very pretty. Some you get to stand, some you got to be naked. I had some really weird auctions. Some you have you're tied to a wall like produce or like retail. And basically like you're picking a t-shirt or you're picking clothes, buyers come through wherever you're at, wherever they put you, and they literally like, okay, there's a white kid, there's a black kid, there's an Indian kid, there's a girl, there's a guy. They check how big your dick is, they check how much space your vagina has, they check your teeth, they check um they check your anal cavity, they check everything. They have a taste. They walk into a room and they have basically like how you have, if you walk into a car lot and you're like, can I turn on the car? Can I sit in the car? Can I open the door? Can I sit in the seat? That's literally what's going on in an auction. They for children, for 6 year olds, for 7 year olds. They
Yeah, do you know what as well? That's what John Wedger. He's like, they're what you call trisexuals in terms of they will try anything. That's what the term. Well, that's what, yeah, the police would say because it's like they might have these people that like kids. He's like they might their preference might be little blonde girls. But if that's not available, they have a little black boy or whatever, little Asian. It's try. They don't care. It like it does. They're trisexual. They'll just do anything. But yeah, they have their preference. Yeah, let's carry on.
walk in.
Because also there's something I don't even think I can actually bring myself to say it. It's so disturbing. But what she was saying about checking things, there's another. Oh yeah, I'm not even. Well, I know it's bad to not I can't. Let's go.
Auction, and they will say like, I will buy for a test sample of two fingers, I will buy for a test sample of a full hand, and they literally get to walk up to a 6-year-old and shove their hand up their cooch. That is what we're talking about. um, you have people, there's a picture of a baby, like maybe 5-6 years old. It's a little baby boy, and he has a like a leash around his neck, and they're walking him around, and he's butt naked, and he's on the floor. Okay, I know everybody has seen this picture before. The thing with that, that's also a test. They will, somebody will shit on the floor, somebody will piss on the floor, a guy will come on the floor, a female will masturbate and squirt on the floor, and they will bring in a child to walk through that, to play in it, to lay in it, to put on their body, to lick it, to see if they can walk around and act like a dog, to lick their shoe, to see how well their gag reflexes are. It's a gag reflex check. So if they come in and they're feeling horny, and somebody starts jacking off on the floor, and they bring in a child, they're going to check for that child's gag reflex by putting them in the middle of that and seeing if they throw up. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I believe that. What's the guy's name? It's not Jeffrey. What's his name? But it's a guy. I mean, his story is horrendous. But everything she's saying is basically what he Darren Jeffries. That's yeah. But how she's describing, because they obviously go for child homes and things like that because no one's coming for them kids. That's the whole point. And that thing of like a selection process and how they determine, and the fact that she said that's a gag check, that sounds so like, well, yeah, that tallies up with like all these other people's stories. And another thing that's crazy about them, like kids that was abused, is that they can be abused by one person, go somewhere else, and instantly get abused by another offender. And they all say the same thing as if it's like they got it written on their forehead. It's like these pedos can look at a kid and see whether they like whether they've been abused before, and if they have, they know it's kind of easy game, and they just do it like it. Yeah, but what she's saying is so true. I've heard, yeah, Darren Jeffries' story is like way similar to this. Like he talks of one thing where he was hard on a pool table with a man at each pocket on the table, and he's like, and they'd just spin you around from person to person. But like, yes, carry on.
No.
But you have attorneys that are going to be working right now trying to get Ghislaine off on technicalities. So keep all that shit in mind.
They will take bars. If say for it's they're saying like, I don't want to penetrate a child today, I just want to participate in this auction, right? They will have something there that looks like a broomstick with a dildo on the end, and they will walk a child around, and they will make them lay on the floor, and they will take that and stab them with it, vaginally, anally, whatever. And they see what the gag reflex is. They see if they cry. They see if they don't have a reaction. They see how well the drugs are taking, what drugs they're on. If
That's another crazy thing. What she said there. If they cry, I saw an undercover paedophile, and he talks about his first thing where he got in with a group of paedophiles, and they basically told him, "Be here at this place tonight. There's going to be a kid there." And he's like, and you'd go there and expect as if the kid would be kicking and screaming, He's like, they're not. They're the calmest person in the room. He's like, everybody else. He's like, you. It's like that's when you see these people. These people can seem like the nicest people in the world. He's like, until you see him in their offending mode and that monster that comes out of them. And he's like, it is like um, drug addicts who's like it's like a bunch of cokeheads who they've been waiting for their coke to turn. He's like, you see it in them. He's like, and the calmest person in the room is the child, because the child, this is just normal for them. He's like, you expect them to be like kicking and screaming, but they don't know no different. They've just been completely like brought up as if this is normal. Yeah, and he's like, and that's one of the scariest things. And then that's what he said. Like, you'd think, how could you be an undercover paedophile and be around them? But like he said in that, um, he's like, after I did that, and you save one child, it's like, then it becomes like you can never stop, because you know that this is happening more like everywhere, and it's like once you have that one child and you've got it, he's like, I can't take away what they've done to him in the past, but I can make sure that now he's here, there's not one thing that's going to happen to this kid. And he's like, and then that's it. It just becomes this obsession that you can no longer stop, because it's like you, how do you stop? How do you know that there's kids being abused? And yeah, but yeah, the not crying. That's the crazy thing, is that these kids are so brainwashed by these people that they just, it's just nothing to them.
They'll cry, if they'll be loud, if they'll moan, if they'll whatever. For the teenagers, it's a whole different ballgame. The teenagers, they will see if their body naturally gets wet. And then it's their fault. If your body will automatically start to respond to what's going on. If you don't, you're a defect. So ladies, if you stay dry, you're a defect.
Kanala.
Then they really mess you up. Then that goes into bondage and torture fetishes. Then that goes into blood fetishes, because if you're not ready, and if there's no way that they can just do whatever they want to do and just get it over with, then they put stuff on dildos, and then they make sure that when they rape a kid and they're bleeding, then that takes more power, because there's adrenochrome, there's power, there's control, there's extra money because you're paying to get rough. There's so much shit that you guys are not realizing that what this life is.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well. A child who is scared, there's more like the satanic side of it. They want a child to be more scared. That fear is what they are hoping to kind of extract that it up. Yeah, yeah. But that's also what she said there, is why castration doesn't work with these people when they start getting into objects, because that's all that happens. You like, castration takes away. I mean, one, it like, if you just chop it off, it's like that. It doesn't take away their mind, and yeah, you don't need to be able to. Like I say, people use anything on children. Well, they use anything on themselves, and in an adult context. But that's the trouble. It's like the castration doesn't work. I mean, in my book, you should just shoot them or just throw them in a hole and leave them there. But I know America castrates, but it doesn't work, because it doesn't take away the mind, and it doesn't take away the, like, they can use things, and like she said, it just becomes using other things and more gruesome things. And yeah, like, I heard one story of a man who was an expert in hurting children in a way that isn't going to kill them. Basically, he could create the most pain, but without it showing or anything. And it was things like injecting chili sauce into their dick and shit like that. Like, but this guy was like well in there with like the top things in it. I'm sure it's in this country, but he was an expert in, yeah, hurting children without it leaving a mark or killing them. It's like,
These are children. And after the auction, sometimes they don't even buy the kid they just messed up. It's just a sample. So say Fords, they go into a room and they rape the hell out of a 7-year-old with the dildo stick and a machine, and they turn the machine on and they say, oh, she started bleeding, so now she's damaged. I don't want that one. Guess what? They don't. Now you're going to get beat by your pimp because you started bleeding. You're going to get beat because you fucked up. And at first they were sampling you like they were going to buy you, and now they're not going to buy you. And then after that, then you go back to wherever. You got to wait until the next job, the next auction, the next whatever is going to be next. Now you got to go back to that, and now you got to deal with whatever they just did to you. So if you're bleeding, if they spit on you, if they used bottles, if they used alcohol, if they used something else that made you sick, now you got to go. There is no shower. There is no I'm going to go pee. There is no I'm just going to go wipe off. No, it don't work that way. You go back to wherever they were holding you. You sit there and you pray to God that you don't die, you don't get a disease, you don't get sick, you don't have an issue where you need help. You just got to do it. And if you die, they snap your neck if they have to, or they just go bury you somewhere and it's over.
This is the thing, I'm like, to me this is not like crazy. People will hear this and it will like, to me this is not, this is what I hear, and it's the same things over and over, and you hear the same things. Um, who's the woman? Barbara O'Hare. She wrote a book about the same thing. Child home and abuse of basically everyone. Well, one thing I'll say about what she's saying about the auction thing is that that's what John Wedger says, is that kids and people are the most, well, kids especially, is the most valuable black market thing, because drugs, any drug, you sell it to the person, they do the drugs is gone. But a child can be used and used and used and used, so you can keep getting payments off of that child. You can take them around crack houses in the day and then high end restaurants at night. You can do £20 a time during the day, and you can do 2.5 grand from a posh person in the night time, right? It's just money, 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 and that's why it is much more lucrative than the drug business, because, yeah, you sell drugs, they do the drugs is gone. But yeah, Barbara O'Hare, she's talked about in her book that there was, because all the child homes in the UK back onto rivers, lakes, whatever. You can understand why. But she's like, wherever child home you'd go, there'd always be the rumor that, like, one of them was that they'd drug people and tell kids to walk into the thing. That there was a drug that they used that completely made you give up your own free will, and you just do what anybody says. Now that sounds like a crazy conspiracy theorist, but in Colombia they are using it now. There's stories of Colombian tour, like people going to Colombia and people walk past, blow something in their face, and then basically say to them, "Go to the bank and give me every penny out of your bank," and they just go and do it. They've got no ability to. They just basically, yeah, you become just a robot. So it's become a thing in Colombia that it's called something devil's, I don't know, whatever. But that's obviously what they was given to these kids, and that's what Barbara O'Hare said. There was, the rumors was that they would give this drug to these kids and then tell them to walk into the lake to see if it would work, and they did, and that was the rumor. If you didn't go along with everything, you're going in the lake, and she's like, that's why every child home in the UK backs onto a lake, like, or a river or whatever.
The baby farms. This happens on baby farms too. You do understand that, right?
Manala.
Where they're holding babies, newborn babies, fresh out of the hospital babies. There are people who have fetishes on hearing a baby's ribs crack as they have sex with them. There are people who...
And people might go, oh, she's just a, this is crazy. This is crazy conspiracy theorist. It's like, well, it's obviously not. Look at what's the guy's name? Lost Prophet singer. That's literally what he was doing, getting his fans to give him their newborn babies. And that's the other thing, is typically men that are more the abuser, but women tend to be more the, is it procurers, like, to this type of thing. Nyla, no, they take it to your bed. I'm doing a video, you can't squeak your toy. But yeah, yeah, let's go.
Have a sick
Come here.
fetish and taking enjoyment and feeling their dick hit somebody's ribs.
No,
You get me
sit.
now?
I'll get you.
There's men
I'm with you
and
100%.
females who feel like their dildos and their strap-ons are real, and they have enjoyment and hearing what it sounds like to break a child's ribs. You know that cracking sound of your knuckles? You know that sound? Yeah, it makes a crazy ass sound when you break somebody's ribs. It makes you breathe in too. It makes more pleasure for them when you breathe in. Ask me how I know. These are babies. There's baby farms. The hospital sells babies to these baby farms. They put them in the little beds that you see when you go visit the baby right after they're born and you're like, "Oh my god, it's a girl." No, they go put them in these little things and then people go down there and poke at them. People go down there and stick their fingers in them. People go down there and open their diapers and lick them. You remember that picture of the Pope sucking on a baby's dick? Do you remember that? You think that was a joke? You remember the rabbi? And the baby is screaming its head off? You think that's only what they do? So there's people at a baby farm. There's nobody holding the baby and, oh my gosh, it's crying and I'm just going to dress it and feed it and clothe it and give it a bath. No, they're experimenting and they're poking at them. And they're seeing which babies can take sexual trauma.
Again, you can say that, oh, she's just nuts. But what she's saying tallies up with Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile had keys to the morgue. He was into that. But he had keys, like, that was his thing. He could just go into the kids' part of the hospitals, and who's going to listen to them kids that the most famous guy in the country come in and abuse them, when most of them kids have on their record that they've got mental health problems or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, what she's saying is so true. Like, it is true.
That's what baby farms are. So you imagine looking at a newborn baby and then being in a room over and hearing it scream its head off when somebody's cracking its ribs.
This is the war we're in. The fact that Ghislaine even has anybody willing to represent her is absurd and ridiculous. Eyes need to be looking on the attorney.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because the people that probably will jump to represent her are the people that are also involved. It's like John Wedger says he started working at a unit, on a child unit in the police. And he's like, I said to them, is there any cases of child prostitution? Like, nah. And he said as well, every police department was asked. Sorry, all of them. They was all asked. The Met. A couple of them come back and said, yeah, um, they have a couple of like satanic things, but majority of the police forces in this country said, nah, never, not one. And John Wedger says he worked at one place and he said, any child prostitution in this area? Nah. Not what? Not one. Nah. Well, there was a girl that was working on it, but she's left to have a baby, and now there's no one working on it. But she was here for 2 years, and she didn't find anything. John Wedger's like, in that afternoon, he found 90 cases. And he's like, and the way he'd do it, he's like, I was very good at talking to people. So I'd go out and I'd talk to them. He's like, and people would tell you their life stories. All these junkies that was on the street that the police would just lock up and they just see as vermin. If you actually talk to them, they'll tell you. And he's like, and all of them have these same stories that go back to the same care homes or back to care homes and or the same names of the people that was abusing them. And he's like, yeah, John Wedger found 90 child prostitution victims in like 20 minutes in this area. But 2 years they didn't find one. And everywhere else says, no, we don't have a problem with that. Like, I think like the West Midlands in our country said, yeah, we've had a couple like in the 70s maybe. That was like the best you got. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that these people get protected because that this is the ruling elite. This is what they are, and this is what I was saying about the grooming gangs. Why is grooming gangs all of a sudden such a hot topic? Everyone's talking about grooming gangs, grooming gangs, grooming gangs, grooming gangs, and it's like, why now? Tommy Robinson's been called a racist, a white supremacist, a Nazi, of all of that stuff for saying that there's Muslim grooming gangs. They haven't quite got the balls to say Muslim grooming gangs, but they'll say grooming gangs now, whereas before you couldn't even say that. Why all of a sudden is grooming gangs a hot topic? When the elite in our country is way more of a problem and has way more, like I said before, most of our violent criminals go back to the child homes and they was like abused in one way or another. And that's why I think grooming gangs is a hot topic now. It's because people are coming out and calling out the elite and calling out satanic ritual abuse. They're throwing the Muslim grooming gangs under the bus. Like I said, they ain't got quite the balls to say Muslim grooming gangs, but everyone knows what they mean by grooming gang. But the biggest grooming gang in the country is the British elite.
Job or no job, would you do that morally? There's no justification for that.
And some people
Like I say, there is when you're all covering each other's backs.
are like, and especially this whole situation with, this whole fuckhead Stephen Kelly.
That's the thing with Ghislaine or whatever her name is. She's in prison. So was Jeffrey Epstein. In prison for human trafficking to who? In order to say they was human traffic, you would have, but you can't because the people they are way too powerful to mess with. Like Epstein obviously was capped, and then someone obviously said to Ghislaine, "If you think we could, like, we just done your boss. You think we can't do you?" So she's just gonna fall in line, do her sentence, keep her mouth shut. And because of that, she's going to have the Freemasons and all these secret societies that are all nonsense all come to her favour. And the whole Freemason thing, again, people say is a conspiracy, but it's not. You can hear police officers say, Freemason police officers. I've even seen a police officer who had trouble because he wasn't a Freemason and had beef in the police with Freemason police officers. He's like, I don't care if there's Freemasons. I don't care if you want a silly secret society. He's like, but you can't be a policeman because you take an oath as a policeman and you take an oath as a Freemason. So your loyalties is going to be to the Freemasons, not the police and not the public. But anyway, yeah, that's the thing. Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein got put in prison for trafficking humans to nobody, by all accounts. Uh,
I had to kill someone to get out. I had to do what I had to do to get out. What would you do if you heard somebody in the next room over telling somebody else that, when I go in this room, I'm going to have sex with them. And then after that, if they cry or if they fight me, I'm just going to slit their throat or break their neck. What would you do? If you're sitting behind that door and you're listening to that, what are you going to do? Because my attitude changed when I would hear somebody talk about me like that. I can't tell you how many times my pimp told me, you either get on that stage and do what I tell you to do, or I'll make sure that while they cut open your body, they'll use every open slot as a puppet. I'm like, got it. Machines? Anyone? Machines? On that note, well, when you put it like that, I'll get my ass on the stage. I can't tell you how many times somebody has told me, if you fuck up on that stage, I promise you, when you get off, you're gonna regret it. Like, all right, tell me what you want me to do. Because I can't fight you. I'm not gonna win this fight. I've had 5 or 6 dudes, big ass dudes, on me, holding me down, and I was still bucking some of them off. Because my pimp, I talked back to my John, my order. Not my pimp, my John. I was on an order with somebody, and he was supposed to be able to do whatever he wanted to do. I wasn't having it one day. I just couldn't deal with it. And on top of that, I was on my period. I'll never forget that shit. I was starting my period, and I was like, I can't do this. He wanted to taste my blood clots. You want me to make you sick? He wanted to taste my blood clots. He was telling me to push so that way he can taste my blood clots because he liked the way that it felt.
Again, I've heard a story of a child, an ex-satanic ritual abuse victim, who was forced to bite the still beating heart of another child as part of their. And she said, when I bit it, all the men around squealed like pigs in excitement. I believe every word she's saying because, like I say, who's it that said, was it Tesla who said, if you want to know the secrets of the world, you've got to think in terms of sound, vibration, and frequencies. I think that gives you the that's the fundamentals of the world, but the truth lies in patterns. That's where the truth lies in life, is in patterns. And when you hear stories of people that are completely separate and they tally up exactly the same way, it's like that's when you can start to say there has to be some validity in this. How are they all saying the same thing? And like I say, what she's saying, I can give you, of everything she said, I could give you 10, 20 different other people's things where they said similar things. Like I said, a girl was made to bite the still beating heart of another child. I've heard stories of a twin brother and sister that was forced to do things with each other while men looked on, and yeah.
I started fighting right away. I couldn't fucking deal. I was like this. I can't. Like I know he told me to, but I fucking cannot right now. Like I cannot. And the man was trying to put the blood clots on his dick. When I say there's some things that I just don't know how to even express or talk about, I can't. Okay? So that one day, I lost my shit. I really lost my shit because he was trying to hold me down and he wouldn't stop. And I was trying to like figure out a way to deal with it. I couldn't do it. So I fought him. Really bad. There was a lot of blood, but it wasn't mine. So my pimp came, and him and about 4 of his friends that were there for other girls, they held me down and stabbed me with a needle and told me if I wasn't going to give blood, they'd make blood. But they were stabbing me somewhere else. So I'm officially shaking. So we're done with this conversation. But yeah, sledding now. So It's fine. I just need you guys to understand.
It's easy to say Ghislaine's on trial for trafficking and they trafficked and they had an island and yada yada, but you need to know what exactly that means, who that involves.
Yeah.
You need to be looking at who's
Yeah.
helping, who's defending her, who's making life easy for her. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And you need to wrap your head around the war that we're actually in.
Yeah.
And what they did. How many skeletons did they find in the water
Yeah.
on that
It's
island?
fine.
Children.
I'm not even upset. It's
Yeah.
just, it's fine.
What they did.
There's a lot. There's a lot, and I think people really need to understand. I'm not even upset right now. I don't even know what the hell's wrong with my body. I'm shaking. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. It's fine.
Yeah, she does seem like she's got, what's it called? Because John Wedger says that it's DID, dissociative something disorder. Things like that comes a heavy amount from child abuse. You see a lot of the victims of child abuse have that, which obviously you have to take on such like I've heard stories of, well, every child's going to be like it, but they'll tell you that they don't even realize what's just happened. They don't know about sex. They don't realize what's just happened. They just know something bad. It was bad, but they don't actually know what happened to them. And you can't tell no one because you can't put it into work. You don't know how to put that into. Yeah, so you kind of just disassociate with everything. But you can see in her, like, that was real disassociative. She's like, you could see her start. I noticed the tear in her eye. She's starting to cry, and then the next thing she's saying, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." Yeah, it is that. Yeah, but yeah, I believe her because, like I say, it's just too common, and it's so far out there that people. It's a big bridge to jump to jump that gap from having a normal, regular view that everything's just normal to jumping into this world. But if you do, and you actually start going into the like I say, there's so many stories from everywhere, and it's not even like just the victim stories. It's story like in our country with child killers, and they're all connected. Like you can connect them all by people and certain names always pop up. Like I say, the truth comes in patterns. When you see patterns of things, you that's when you can start to give some validity to it. And like I say, I've listened to countless things. There's actually one that Maria has sent as well, which is a young girl about the Hampshire thing. I really want to do that. Her testimony of satanic ritual abuse. I don't know whether it's that case, but this is what I mean. This is how crazy this stuff is. It's, if it's not the Hampshire case, it's another case. It might be the Islington one. But there was a major case of child prostitution in our country that was kind of covered up and reduced down. But the person who did it, Tony Blair, made head of child welfare, made the child welfare officer. The person who ballsed up I don't know whether it is the Hampshire one, but that's the thing that people act like child prostitution isn't. There's loads of cases, but yeah, once it starts getting out, people shit on it. But like I was saying, I don't understand how people can come to. That's the trouble. Once you start thinking of how you think and how you feel, then you're at a disadvantage because these people aren't like you. They look like you, they talk like you, they walk and talk like you. You'd be less scared of them, these types of people, than you would of your average criminal, because your average criminal is way more obvious with it. The paedophile, and the paedophile as well, these people aren't the creepy guy in the park in a Mac. They are regular people. Some of them are, well, they are high level, high intelligence, but then they have this thing. Yeah, yeah. But like I say, I believe that I've heard too many of these stories where they talk the same things, that the, the testing. Yeah, it's disgusting. But yeah, that's the first one of yeah, these are Maria's requests. Like I say, there's a testimony of a child, but that's gonna be a hard one. It's like 2 hours something, and it's a young girl talking about satanic ritual abuse. That's the other thing as well. Adults lie, but children not so much. Like John Wedger said, he worked in the children abuse part of the police for years. He's like only like one kid that made claims that the father had abused them, but it wasn't. He's like it fell at the first hurdle. Kids aren't good liars. Like they're not. He's like, and another thing kids do is they acquiesce to you. They want to please the adult, and that's how you can balls up an investigation too. Like John Wedger says, for example, they'll say the man that come to pick you up, was he in a what color car did he have? And the kid will say, oh, yellow car. And he's like, and then the policeman will go and make a face like he's not happy with that answer. He's like, and the kid would go, a red car, and he's like, and the policeman will do that until he gets the colour of the car that he wants for the person that he wants to pin it on. Do you know what I mean? And not the person that they're protecting, who they actually know 100% is the person involved in with this kid. But yeah, I think it's actually Darren Jeffrey's story as well, where he talked about, or Mike Tarrega. There's loads of them. It might not even be one of them two either, but said that one night they were child prostitutes, him and his group of mates. And one night, his group of mates was going down to, I don't know whether it's Waterloo, somewhere in London, like a train station in London. And that's like the pickup point for them. You go and stand there, and then people come and pick you up. And he's like, my mates was like, you coming down? They're going to prostitute themselves. They're like kids, like 13 or whatever, but they've just been abused in the system, and that's just what they do. But he was like, nah, um, nah, I'm not going. Like, because I think he said, he'd had like he prostituted himself the night before and had money, so he didn't go. And then his group of friends went down there. I think it was like 5 or 6 of them, and he said they was never seen again. The people that picked him up, none of them was ever seen again. And every year he goes down and puts flowers at that train station. I think it's outside. I don't know where it actually is. And then there's another story of a boy. These are all from John Wedger. I recommend John Wedger, but he tells us a story of another boy who actually, because he said as well, the pimp actually, some of them are quite like, he's like, as crazy as it sounds, the pimp is kind of there to protect them. He's like, as crazy as that sounds, that the pimp is like, although it's a bad thing they're doing, they're not necessarily bad people. And but this, he said, this person said this kid was prostituting himself, and he said this man pulled up, and he said, and he looked at his pimp, and his pimp kind of gave him a, don't get in that car, don't get in the car. And he's like, but he really wanted heroin. He was a heroin addict, so he really wanted it. He's like, so he made a circle round the block kind of thing to the guy in the car. And then when the pimp weren't looking, he got in the car with the man. The man took him to somewhere, but there was a whole load of men, and they done every type of thing like she's saying, all this awful shit to him, hard him in every way possible, and just abused him in every way possible, and then dumped him because they thought he was dead. They dumped him because he was just a lifeless mess, but he wasn't dead, and he managed to get himself back to somewhere, and he did survive it. But his pimp told him, nah, and I think he said his pimp told him later that other boys had got in that car and never been seen again. And I'm not sure if that's the white Rolls Royce either, because that's the thing where John Wedger thinks it might be Jimmy Savile. But yeah, yeah, this is the first one anyway of Maria's things. But yeah, we definitely got to do more because, like I say, I mean, it sounds weird to say I'm fascinated. It's not fascinated by this sort of stuff. But it is like you just can't stop once you start getting into it. And like she said, this is the world we live in, and people don't know. People don't know this is the world we live in. I'm gonna do a video on the RAINS list too, the Ritual Abuse Information Network and Support list. The people on that list, there's a long list, and the people on that list are people where it's not once that their name has been tied into satanic ritual abuse, but twice. If their name has come up twice in terms of cases of satanic ritual abuse, their name gets put on this list. I want to do a video on that, but it's actually quite hard to find a list, and people have been prosecuted over that list, but it's never been contested. You're just not allowed to talk about it. Yeah. But yeah, that's the reaction. Sweet.